I don't know about you guys, but I expect big things when you take the man who directed Watchmen and give him a story written by the people who created The Dark Knight. Man of Steel was hyped for a long time as a gritty re-examination of Superman's origins. And so we see the destruction of Krypton, the efforts of a single couple to save their son, and the life of that son when he lives on Earth. As you would expect from David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan, the movie takes a gritty and realistic look at the Superman story. We see what would happen when Kal-El must adapt to Earth's living conditions, and we see the painfulness of his having to hold back from revealing his powers. We see what humans would genuinely be like if they witnessed a god amongst them. We would see how the military would react, how the people would react to an alien threat when it arrives. Of course, the alien invasion happens when the other surviving Kryptonians, who are led by General Zod, demand that Superman must give himself to them or else they will destroy the Earth. Ultimately, what I liked most about the film was how it established such elaborate details about Krypton's world compared to Earth, so that Superman's strengths and weaknesses were more justified. It examines the moral dilemmas and ethical questions of having a superhero in our midst. We see the humans struggling to figure out what they can do about something so far out of their reach. We see Superman struggle with his mistrust of humans' hostility towards something different. And even General Zod is elevated from just a one-note character into a militaristic zealot who never had a choice about what he was meant to do in his life, and so adds a tiny bit of tragedy to his wanton destruction. The realism of the conflicts were what made this a genuinely interesting movie. What also separates Man of Steel from a lot of the other superhero movies being made these days is that it doesn't shy away from the ugly fact that thousands of people are dying. The battles of these superior entities are well filmed and well shot, but they leave utter destruction in their wake, and it's impossible to deny the human suffering that's happening in the background. While they don't necessarily address it in lines of dialogue, the fact that they actually bother to show the brutal impact on the civilians is a break from this genre's escapism. As much as I've been giving credit to the crew behind the film, I should also talk about the cast. Henry Cavill gives one of the best Superman performances that has so far been done. He does a great job playing this figure who's been made to feel different all his life, yet still wants to use his godlike powers for good. He wants to trust people, but he isn't naive about humanity's shortcomings. Meanwhile, Amy Adams is a great actress, but the limitations of a superhero movie are nevertheless forced upon her character of Lois Lane. Though it is worth pointing out that she does a good job establishing herself as Superman's contact among the humans. Michael Shannon did a phenomenal job as General Zod, giving what I consider to be the best performance of the movie. Russell Crowe does a good job too as Superman's biological dad, but he's mostly there just to give exposition or be someone for Zod to argue with. There's also Christopher Maloney and Harry Lennox playing military figures who have to find out how to defend humanity. Lawrence Fishburne is good, but sadly underused as Lois Lane's boss. And rounding off the main cast would be the Kents, who are played very well by Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. There are a few flaws to this movie, however. It still fails to avoid certain cliches of the genre, and so we get pretty cringeworthy lines concerning Superman and Lois Lane's love for each other. Also, for all the work that they put into the story, it still leaves a few questions unanswered. Like, why is the United States the only nation that seems to be actively fighting these invaders? Why would these criminals of Krypton be encased in the Phantom Zone if Krypton's destruction would not only save them but also set them free from their prison? Also, Lois Lane's discovery of Superman's human name could be credited to expert journalism, but it still feels convenient that she was able to find every single one of Clark Kent's previous jobs and identities. But all that aside, Man of Steel is probably my favorite of the Superman movies made so far. It contains a big story with pretty much equal amounts of action and intellectual complexity. Certainly it's worth checking out.